Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and we've got 3 different stories, 3 different people, and 3 different, what do they say now? Let's start with Nancy Pelosi first, because there's a clip out there that has gone somewhat viral via Twitter that I saw, and I was just like taken aback. I said, wow. She's giving Zombie J a run for her money. And it's funny, if I show you how hard it was to find this tweet, it was extremely difficult. I typed in Pelosi. It's been, if you can see, July 28th, it's gotten like 4 million views in the last couple of days alone. And it's actually a video because we watched the whole thing, okay, from November 4th, 2021, where she rambles a lot. She's very disjointed, dejected, a lot of Build Back Better, a lot of, Joe Manchin this, etc. Basically, she also mentions how the Moody report said that inflation is a myth with their new bill, their Build Back Better bill, all that type of stuff. But she goes off the rails at one point, and she just rambles. She shows either a clear case of early onset dementia, or it sounds like she's stroking out. So we're actually going to play that clip without the spooky music, and you're going to get to decide how out of it she actually is. That's story 1. Story 2 is that Donald Trump was recently asked about the Saudi Arabian's government involvement in the 9/11 attacks, and Donald Trump comes out and says, we're going to play this clip, that we still haven't gotten to the bottom of who was behind 9/11, and we should have. Really, Donald? Really? Why did we do that under your administration? Maybe we shouldn't have had John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, Bill Barr in that administration if you were serious about it. And don't forget, we're going to play this clip too, because they said what now? They said what now? That Donald Trump on the morning of 9/11 gave an extensive interview where he says that bombs must have been used on that day. And let's not forget that he has talked about the Saudi Arabian involvement in the past, which did have a financial involvement. And he even said when he was running for president, maybe we'll get to the bottom of who was really behind 9/11. Well, third story is going to be Bill Maher, and there's actually 2 parts that we're going to play. We may play the second part only on the uncensored part of the broadcast, the Rumble and Rockfin part of the broadcast, because I don't want to get a copyright infringement. I think I'm going to be able to get away with the short clip I'm going to play via Chris Cuomo, who is now on like this new tour where his entire image is being revitalized. He's not the lefty CNN minion. And the part of the clip that we're going to play is his introduction by Maher, where Maher kind of easily says that, oh, well, I guess that we're just kind of accepting of this new era where the corporate media and the government are one and the same. They're borrowing from each other. But then what he says next is just, wow, he said this. He talks about how robots are merging with humans. You wonder why we talk about transhumanism all the time? So then the uncensored part of the broadcast is going to be his new rules segment, when he goes right into the population control, Malthusian, carbon footprint agenda that's going to help usher in the automation and the UBI and the transhumanism. That's the reality, okay? So before we get going, what I want you to do, folks, is we're still on YouTube, but we're fully demonetized, and we need you to spread the documentaries here and the videos. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Extremely limited. We've gained 8,000 subscribers, okay? 8,000 subscribers in the last 2 years. Meanwhile, in the 2 years we've been on Rockfin, we have 60,000 subscribers. So at least make that free account over at Rockfin, or follow us on Rumble. Subscribe over there. $9.99 a month or $99.99 for the year. Help support the broadcast. You want to support the broadcast in other ways, the link is down below. But definitely check out all the documentary films: Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture. Without further ado, let's play some of this Nancy Pelosi clip. Again, we're going to play the raw one. And I want to remind folks, this was the headline yesterday. China says it will shoot Pelosi's plane down if she travels to Taiwan under U.S. fighter escort. Speaker refuses to confirm trip as Beijing warns it would cross a red line. And I'm sure that so many people out there that love Nancy Pelosi so much would be devastated if that happened. By the way, I'm absolutely not for any of this because it would spark off a global conflict, the likes of which we could not imagine. But let's just hear, how with it this November Nancy was, okay?
Takes a little longer, more subjectivity, but this shouldn't take long to get. The other thing that we're getting we're sending stuff over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is, except now we may have added in the last day or so, and some of what we added is Senate to the bill. Like
some of what they've added is Senate to the bill.
Hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Excuse me. Bernie loves hearing.
The hearings, not hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Bernie does like hearing.
Hearing in the bill and all that stuff. So some is Senate-oriented, and then we had the family medical leave. We figured if they're putting things in, then we can put something in, even if Manchin doesn't like it. So we are getting some bird and privilege.
She's getting some bird and privilege.
I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege scrub is deadly to a bill. Birdable, it's important. You have to take it out, but privilege violation can take you out. So we're again getting that as we go along as well. But when we pass a bill, then they will see it in its aggregate and make some.
Any concern that any of this is quote messaging, because that they have to take some of those things out regardless, no matter what you send over? You said you weren't going to send a messaging bill.
No, we're not sending a messaging bill, but we want to be sure that what we send is not birdable or bird bath or privilege scrub. They're the two.
Bird baths and privilege scrub. They're the two. No one calls her out on this.
Exercises we're getting engaged, bathing exercises we're engaged in, and we're getting good response. There's no bad answer. It is what it is. There's a certain objectivity to it. It is what it is, because whatever it is, this is the greatest, monumental, historic piece of legislation that any of us will ever be a part of it. And
she's talking Build Back Better. She brought it back to some Kamala Harris after that 2-minute string of, wow, you think these people are actually running the country? Yeah, okay. That's a puppet right there. That's a minion of the system. Nothing else. So let's move on to Donny T. And here he is. And that's the thing that was so disappointing. Trump seemed to be in the know about a lot of these issues, right? 9/11 being one of those crux issues that I constantly talk about. And here he is, again, because there's so much pressure to boycott the Saudi golf tournament. They're now playing on the 9/11 family victims, talking about the Saudi Arabian involvement in 9/11. Great. We should know about that. We should know about the Pakistani involvement. We should know about the Israeli involvement. We should know about the subsequent cover-up. We should know about the continuity of government programs that were running drills that day. We should know what happened at Cheyenne Mountain. We should know a lot, a whole lot. So here's Donny. Let's let him go.
You're so closely associated with the city of New York.
Yeah.
You, of all people, understand the passion surrounding 9/11. What do you say to those family members who protested earlier this week and will be doing so again on Friday?
Well, nobody's gotten to the bottom of 9/11, unfortunately, and they should have, as to the maniacs that did that horrible thing to our city, to our country, to the world. So nobody's really been there, but I can tell you that there are a lot of really great people that are out here today, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to celebrate, and money's going to charity.
So let's stop it there. Let's bring it back. Again, no one's really gotten to the bottom of 9/11.
so closely associated with the city of New York.
Yeah.
You, of all people, understand the passion surrounding 9/11. What do you say to those family members who protested earlier this week and will be doing so again on Friday?
Well, nobody's gotten to the bottom of 9/11, unfortunately, and they should have, as to the maniacs that did that horrible thing to our city, to our country, to the world. So nobody's really been there, but I can tell you that there are a lot of really great people that are.
We don't need to hear about the lot of really great people, but there it is. So now let's see what Donny T here, thought on the morning of 9/11.
Great. Donald, you're probably the best known builder, particularly of great buildings in the city. There's a great deal of question about whether or not the damage and the ultimate destruction of the buildings was caused by the airplanes, by architectural defect, or possibly by bombs or aftershocks. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it was an architectural defect. You know, the World Trade Center was always known as a very, very strong building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation. And it withstood that. And I got to see that area about 3 or 4 days after it took place because one of my structural engineers actually took me for a tour because he did the building. And I said, I can't believe it. The building was standing solid and half of the columns were blown out. I mean, so this was an unbelievably powerful building. If you know anything about structure, it was one of the first buildings that was built from the outside. The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows, you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams, when I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been.
And by the way, guys, this, CGI stuff that they're trying to put in there, Johnny nonsense. Planes hit buildings. I want to put that out there. I couldn't find the original cut of this because it's almost impossible to find anything anymore, even though this was widely shared. I think the CGI part of it is Johnny nonsense. We're going to continue to play this and listen to Donald Trump.
How could it possibly go through the steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have, and it was almost just like a can of soup.
And by the way, let's not forget that it also had an inner core, all right, that was hermetically sealed at 3 different levels. It just wasn't steel on the outside.
You know, Donald, we were looking at pictures all morning long of that plane coming into building number 2, and when you see that approach the far side, and then all of a sudden, within a matter of a millisecond, the explosion pops out the other side.
Right. I just think that it was a plane with more than just fuel. I think, obviously, they were very big planes. They were going very rapidly, because I was also watching where the plane seemed to be not only going fast, it seemed to be coming down into the building. So it was getting the speed from going downhill, so to speak.
So think about that. Drone aircraft, something different, maybe explosives on board. Let's not forget that even the mainline history and the hijackers talks about bombs being on board. That's what Muhammad Atta supposedly relayed. We have some planes, there's a bomb on board, everybody be calm.
It just seemed to me that to do that kind of destruction is even more than a big plane, because you're talking about taking out steel, the heaviest caliber steel that was used on a building. I mean, these buildings were rock solid, and it's just an amazing thing. This country is different today, and it's going to be different than it ever was for many years to come.
Forever. It's what enabled what? The Patriot Act, Homeland Security, what we now have with signature reduction, classifying United States citizens as terrorists. All of it. So I want to move on. I want to get to Bill Maher, and I want to play this clip right here of him casually talking about how the media and the government are basically the same now, just like humans are merging with robots. And then after that, we're going to cut the YouTube feed, and we're going to show you his new rule segment where he plays right into that agenda, talking about a carbon footprint and saying it would be good. The population's going to collapse. Let it. You know, Bill's been right recently on a lot of things like not sexualizing your kids. He's dead wrong. Dead wrong on this one. And this Cuomo rehabilitation tour is repulsive because it also involves rehabilitating his brother, who should have been taken out on criminal charges the way he handled the nightmare that people went through in New York City, and they made it about grab ass, folks. By the way, we don't even have 100 thumbs up and over 200 people watching. Can we change that over on the YouTube before we cross over? Here is Bill Maher talking to Chris Cuomo. He's not a capo, folks. He's a little smaller than that.
We're at this place in society now where apparently the media has merged. It's kind of like the way we're merging with robots, with politics. There's no separation. I mean, look who the White House press spokesman is. It's always somebody. The Democrats are going to hire somebody from MSNBC. The Republicans are going to hire somebody from Fox.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Because, again, both of these points are big deals to me. Big deals.
We're at this place in society now where apparently the media has merged. It's kind of like the way we're merging with robots, with politics. There's no separation. I mean, look who the White House press spokesman is. It's always somebody. The Democrats are going to hire somebody from MSNBC. The Republicans are going to hire somebody from Fox. We each have our official places. CNN was supposed to be the middle.
Yeah, right. It was never in the middle. Remember that document? You know, the one that talks about CNN syndrome, the future strategic war document. You know, the one talking about, I don't know, exploiting that syndrome. It's right here. Sensitivity to casualties, greatly enhanced by the CNN syndrome. Vulnerabilities to terrorism. You see that? It's right here. Exploit it. Capture and torture Americans in living color on prime time. Terror attacks within the continental United States. This is a July 2001 document. Serious psychological warfare. Collateral damage, exploitation, etc. What do you think we just watched? The exploitation of 3,000 plus people. So I'm not playing any of the Chris Cuomo stuff. I just want to point out how brazen it is that we're just now in this world of a technopoly ruled by a predator class where they're talking about a corporate media merging with the government just like we're merging with machines. And that agenda is the green agenda, the sustainability agenda, the productivity agenda, all according to Bushnell. And in this rant that he goes on, he just talks about how we're all devastated. We're losing sand, we're losing water. And remember, it's NASA's position that we are losing clean water, that the climate change agenda is real. But then they tell you that they can grow halophytes in desert and produce all the energy we need, all the food we need, how clean it would be. And we don't get talking about that. No, instead, what do we talk about? Take a guess what we talk about. We talk about how, you know, we're losing sand all of a sudden. And we know the soil's bad. The rainforests are decimated. Apparently we can't plant trees anymore. So I'm going to play that on the other side right now. If you want to watch it and you're watching on YouTube, you're one of the 240 people live, what do you need to do? You need to come on over to Rumble or over to The Rockfin, and it is free. Just go to the links below. And guys, remember, support the broadcast by buying me a coffee. Make sure to check out the documentary films, and YouTube. We'll see you on the other side.